Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's session. Welcome to Crack Grade B online learning platform. Can someone tell me whether my voice is clear and is this screen clearly visible to all of you? आवाज आ रही है सबको? Okay. So let's start with the first ESI and finance news. So as from the various days we are actually hearing about that the government of India is actually wanted to do something with respect to the fraudulent calls and fraudulent spam calls that we are receiving. Usually बहुत सारे promotional calls usually हम लोग receive करते हैं, and even sometimes also with some random 10-digit number we are usually get calls from various promotional organizations. Okay, so it is in this context the government of India has released this platform called Chakshu. Okay, so this Chakshu platform will be utilized and is there for all the citizens who can actually place their complaint with respect to any fraudulent call that they have received. Okay, so as you can see, the Department of Telecommunication introduces Chakshu, a platform to combat spam and fraud calls launched by Department of Technology. Okay? And users can access this facility at Sanchar Sathi portal of Government of India. Okay, so you can go to Sanchar Sathi portal, and under this portal you can get access to Chakshu platform, where you can complain about any fraudulent calls and any spam calls if you have received any. Okay? Next news is regarding Power Grid Corporation of India announces to raise 1200 crore rupees via bonds. So what type of bond that Power Grid Corporation of India is trying to release in order to raise this much amount of fund? So you can see, although news is not that much particular or that much important, but at least you should be aware of what is the type of bond that is being released. So the bond will be unsecured. That means no security is provided against, even if the company default to pay interest as well as loans. Then we have non-convertible. So the bonds which are non-convertible, the correct meaning is that these bonds, if they would have been convertible, then you could have converted this bond into equity at some later stages. But because this is not non-convertible, you will not be able to convert this bond into a equity. Okay? So bas itna sa hai. Then we have non-cumulative. So what does this mean? Non-cumulative means that even if the company does not pay interest in any particular year, that interest will not get accumulated. This is what the property of non-cumulative is. अगर cumulative होता तो हर साल अगर मान लीजिए इंटरेस्ट पे नहीं किया तो वो इंटरेस्ट फिर प्रिंसिपल में जुड़ जाता है, या फिर नेक्स्ट महीने आपको वो जो आपने अनपेड इंटरेस्ट है वो दोबारा देना पड़ेगा. ठीक है, बट दैट्स द सिचुएशन इन क्यूमुलेटिव. बट इन नॉन क्यूमुलेटिव द बॉन्ड होल्डर विल नॉट बी रिसीविंग. अगर उसको इंटरेस्ट नहीं मिला तो वो एक्यूमुलेट नहीं होगा, वो उसको आप लॉस्ट मान के चलिए. ठीक है. And the last is redeemable. What does this mean? Redeemable means that the company can redeem the bond or buy back the bond from you at any point of time, even before the maturity. ठीक है. अगर पावर ग्रिड कॉर्पोरेशन ऑफ इंडिया के पास एक्स्ट्रा कैश आ गया तो उन्होंने ये सारा बॉन्ड आपसे वापस खरीद लेना है, आपको प्रिंसिपल वापस लौटा के. ठीक है. एंड द लास्ट थिंग इज टैक्सेबल. ओके, दैट द इंटरेस्ट that you will be receiving in this bond, that is normally taxable. Okay. So the issue of the base size is set at 2400 crores with a green shoe option of 800 crores. तो ग्रीन शू ऑप्शन हम लोग क्यों रखते हैं? How many of you have heard this? Heard about it? Anyone? Why do you think green shoe option is usually placed alongside whenever any entity wants to raise money either via bond or via equity? We've always seen this option of green shoe. Anyone? हम लोग क्यों यूज करते हैं ग्रीन शू ऑप्शन? जब कंपनी को और पैसे चाहिए होते हैं, तो और पैसे चाहिए तो आप यहीं पे बढ़ा लो, इसका क्या पॉइंट है? हाँ, आईपीओ में सुना है ऑब्वियसली. तो बेसिकली आप उसको ये मान के चले, इट्स फॉर प्राइमरी लिस्टिंग ऑफ एनी सिक्योरिटी, वेदर इट्स आईपीओ और वेदर इट्स अ बॉन्ड. अगर आपको ज्यादा ही प्राइस चाहिए तो आप अपना इनिशियल सब्सक्रिप्शन ज्यादा निकालो. ग्रीन शू ऑप्शन की क्या जरूरत है? देखो, ऑब्वियसली टू स्टेबलाइज प्राइस, ठीक है, लेटेस्ट स्टेजेस में वो तो है एंगल, बट द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट एंगल विद रिस्पेक्ट टू ग्रीन शू ऑप्शन इज कि व्हाट इफ that the number of shares that I am actually trying to list over there, number of shares worth this much amount or number of bonds worth this much amount I am trying to list over there, or I am trying to raise the amount of money with, ठीक है. What about the response of the public? अगर public का response ज़्यादा आ गया, so I can capitalize on that response by adding this much amount more, ठीक है. तो instead of 2400 I will then do 3200. but at least इसका तो पता है मुझे कि इसका तो फुल सब्सक्रिप्शन हो ही जाएगा. बट व्हाट इफ 2 times 3 times सब्सक्रिप्शन इज देयर, सो आई कैन ऑल्सो रेज दिस मच अमाउंट ऑफ मनी एज वेल, ठीक है. फॉर दैट ऑप्शन ग्रीन शू ऑप्शन इज ऑलवेज देयर. इज दिस क्लियर टू एवरीवन? नेक्स्ट इज RBI has actually stopped IIFL Finance from disbursing gold loans. So just remember the name of the company, for what purpose it has been stopped to disburse gold loans, because there are various material supervisory concerns identified by Reserve Bank of India with respect to IIFL's gold loan portfolio. ठीक है. Next is Moody raises India's 2024 calendar year GDP forecast to 6.8%. ठीक है. So what does this tell you? And this is with respect to calendar year 2024 from January to December. ठीक है. It is in this context Moody says 6.8 मिल जाएगा आपको. आप भी इतना कॉन्फिडेंस दिखा रहे हैं अपने अंदर कि फाइनेंशियल ईयर 25 में यू आर सेइंग दैट यू विल बी ग्रोइंग एट 7%, तो हम लोग भी थोड़ा उसके आसपास ले आते हैं, जिससे एटलीस्ट अगर आप 7% ग्रो कर गए तो हमारी बेइज्जती ना हो, हमारे रेटिंग्स एजेंसी की बेइज्जती ना हो. ठीक है. सो जस्ट रिमेंबर, Moody says 6.8% इन द कैलेंडर ईयर 24. प्रीवियस इनका था 6.1%. Next is RBI's initiative for interoperable internet banking system. This is a very important news. इसको हम सर्कुलर में भी पढ़ेंगे, बट एटलीस्ट आप यहाँ पर एक इसको ब्रीफ ले लो. So despite having so much interoperability amongst various payment systems, there are still some corners जहाँ पर अभी भी interoperability का इशू है. ठीक है. How many of you have this concern? मतलब अब तो बहुत कम हो गया, बट एटलीस्ट whenever you used to go to some website, ठीक है, वहां पे अगर आप पेमेंट करना चाहो, स्पेशली इन नेट बैंकिंग, ठीक है, देन यू फाइंड दैट योर बैंक इज नॉट लिस्टेड ऑन दिस प्लेटफॉर्म. ऐसा हुआ है किसी के साथ? हाउ मेनी ऑफ यू हैव एक्सपीरियंस दिस? आपको नेट बैंकिंग से पेमेंट करनी है, बट आपकी बैंक की लिस्ट नहीं है उस प्लेटफॉर्म पर. बहुत बार हुआ है ना, पहले फॉर्म भरते थे, ठीक है। सो और इवन अगर आप लोगों में से किसी ने इनकम टैक्स भी भरा होगा, एटलीस्ट आपने इनकम टैक्स का चालान निकालने का ट्राई किया होगा, तो पहले इनकम टैक्स का जो वेबसाइट था उसमें आपको केवल some banks were not present over there to generate चालान। अब ये यूजुअली क्यों होता है? बिकॉज obviously the agency which is providing you all the payment services has not have arrangement with your bank, ठीक है, उनके साथ अरेंजमेंट नहीं है, तो आपको फिर पेमेंट करने में दिक्कत है। सिमिलरली एनी वेबसाइट विच हैज अ पेमेंट सिस्टम, और ये पूरा पेमेंट सिस्टम कौन प्रोवाइड करता है? मैंने आपको कितनी बार बताया, अगर किसी ऑनलाइन बिजनेस को पेमेंट रिसीव करना है, व्हाट फ्रॉम विच टाइप ऑफ एंटिटी डज इट टेक सर्विसेज फ्रॉम? एनीवन? पेमेंट एग्रीगेटर्स, वेरी गुड, ठीक है। तो देर आर वेरियस पेमेंट एग्रीगेटर्स, ठीक है। सम पेमेंट एग्रीगेटर्स सच एज रेजर पे, पेयू, इंस्टामोजो, सो सपोज रेजर पे ने सबके साथ टाई अप कर लिया, ठीक है, तो रेजर पे का अगर इंटीग्रेशन आपकी वेबसाइट में होगा तो चलो वहां नेट बैंकिंग के सारे बैंक्स मिल जाएंगे। बट व्हाट अबाउट पेयू? पेयू ने सबके साथ नहीं किया होगा। फॉर एग्जांपल पेयू में यस बैंक वालों का नहीं है, लेट्स अज्यूम दिस, तो वहां पर तो पेमेंट रुक जाएगी। टू रिड्यूस ऑल दिस inconvenience, to remove all this inconvenience, to eliminate all these issues, the government or the Reserve Bank of India is coming up with interoperable इंटरनेट बैंकिंग सिस्टम, ठीक है। फिर वो इसको यूपीआई की तरह कर देंगे। यूपीआई में होता क्या है, ठीक है, बेसिकली इंफॉर्मेशन का ही तो खेल है। विद द हेल्प ऑफ अकाउंट एग्रीगेटर्स, एवरी एंटिटी विल बी एबल टू get the details of every other bank and every other account of every other bank, ठीक है। अभी टाई अप के वजह से आप लोग रुक जाते हो, बिकॉज पेयू डजंट हैव टाई अप विद यस बैंक, सो वो वेबसाइट से पेमेंट नहीं कर पाओगे आप, ठीक है। फिर आपको कोई दूसरा मेथड यूज करना पड़ेगा, यूपीआई फॉर एग्जांपल, ठीक है। तो अभी कुछ पेमेंट सिस्टम्स में इंटरऑपरेबिलिटी पूरी आ चुकी है, फॉर एग्जांपल यूपीआई, बट इन सम टाइम सम अदर पेमेंट सिस्टम्स, फॉर एग्जांपल नेट बैंकिंग नहीं आई है हर जगह। सो टू मिटिगेट ऑल दिस एंड टू स्पीड अप सेटलमेंट ऑफ फंड्स, RBI is envisioning interoperable payment system for net banking transactions, ठीक है। ये केवल नेट बैंकिंग के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में है, डोंट कंफ्यूज इट विद यूपीआई विच इज एनीवेज इंटरऑपरेबल, ठीक है। So who is tasked with implementing this whole system? NPCI, भारत बिल पेमेंट लिमिटेड। इनको दिया है जिम्मा कि आप एक ऐसा सिस्टम बनाइए जिसमें इवन नेट बैंकिंग गेट्स इंटरऑपरेबल, ठीक है। Why would merchant go for such payment aggregator like PayU which doesn't have all banks covered? अब PayU आपको सस्ती कमीशन फीस मांग रहा होगा। मान लीजिए रेजर पे आपसे कह रहा है कि मैं आपसे 10% लूंगा कमीशन में जितना भी आपका ट्रांजैक्शन होगा, बट PayU इज सेइंग कि आई विल टेक ओनली 5%, बट PayU एक्चुअली प्रोवाइड्स यू, दो नेट बैंकिंग नहीं है बट बाकी सब यूपीआई वगैरह सब है, तो यू विल रियलाइज, यू विल से कि यार यूपीआई में सारे मोस्टली ट्रांजैक्शंस तो यूजुअली हैपेंस इन यूपीआई, नेट बैंकिंग से आजकल करता कौन है, और हमारी टिकट साइजेस भी बहुत छोटे हैं, तो वो तो यूपीआई से हो जाएगा, तो फर्क ज्यादा पड़ेगा नहीं। सो देयर आर वेरियस फैक्टर्स बिकॉज ऑफ विच पीपल चूज प्लेटफॉर्म्स लाइक पेयू, और फिर जब आप अरेंजमेंट करते हो किसी बैंक के साथ तो आपका भी कॉस्ट बढ़ता है ना, ओके, दैट मे बी द रीजन। तो फिलहाल आप लोग ये याद करो, टू मेक इंटरनेट बैंकिंग interoperable, NPCI Bharat Bill Payment Limited has been tasked with, and whenever the new invention will come, we'll look about it. ठीक है, या RBI circular में आएगा तो we'll again look about it. The system is expected to be launched in 2024. Next is NSO has come up with the data of unemployment for the 2023 year. What is the report within which unemployment data is released by NSO? Report का नाम क्या है? How many of you know about it? It's periodic labor force survey. ठीक है, periodic labor force survey released by a national statistical organization. ठीक है, releases unemployment data, and this time this report tells us about the unemployment data for calendar year 2023, which says that unemployment rate has decreased to 3.1% in 2023 as compared to 3.6% in the previous year. ठीक है, and if you see the rural and urban unemployment rate, so you will get to see that 2.4% is the rural urban unemployment rate and 5.3% is the urban areas unemployment rate. So naturally, urban areas unemployment rate is higher compared to 2.4%, which is present in the rural areas. So while we are doing this, and don't worry, this report will be extensively covered in the report section and also in the PIB. So report section जब हम लोग करेंगे, then we'll again see it. But let's just revise the concepts also. What do you mean by labor force? We've done this in employment chapter in Reserve Bank of India's in 90 days sessions also. What do you mean by labor force, or what constitutes labor force in the population? It's just not all people. इसमें आता है people that are already employed plus unemployed people but they are seeking work. ठीक है, इट्स नॉट लाइक कि कोई एम्प्लॉयमेंट देख भी नहीं रहा है, कह रहा मैं नहीं कर रहा काम, मैं तो घर में पड़ा रहूँगा, दैट्स द लाइफ आई वांट टू लिव. ठीक है, बहुत सारे लोग हैं, बट उनको आप लेबर फोर्स में काउंट नहीं करोगे. उन्होंने तो पहले ही त्याग दिया काम करना, तो उनको क्यों काउंट करोगे? ओके, सो अनएम्प्लॉयड पीपल हु आर एक्टिवली सीकिंग जॉब, दे विल स्टिल बी काउंट इन द लेबर फोर्स. तभी आपको अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट रेट पता लगती है. ठीक है, अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट रेट अगर आप निकालोगे, नंबर ऑफ अनएम्प्लॉयड पीपल हु आर एक्टिवली सीकिंग डिवाइडेड बाय टोटल लेबर फोर्स, बेसिकली इनका डिवाइडेड बाय द होल पॉपुलेशन. इज दिस क्लियर? Now let's move on to next news, which is RBI approves merger of AU Finance, AU Small Finance Bank and Fincare Small Finance Bank, and this will be effective from April 1st. Okay, AU Small Finance Bank announced acquisition of Fincare Small Finance Bank in a deal worth of $530 million. So next is a data with respect to the inflation released by organization Center for Monitoring Indian Economy. So is this a public sector organization or a private sector organization? Everyone. Yes, it's a private sector organization, okay, which usually come up with the data with respect to various employment and unemployment in the country, and even also macroeconomic indicators as well. Okay, so CMI is saying that India's retail inflation measured by CPI combined is expected to decrease to 4.3 to 4.4% in financial year 25 from an estimated 5.49 in the current fiscal year. Matlab up to March, after March, it is saying that it will moderate around 4.3 to 4.4%. Then what do you think? What will Reserve Bank of India do to policy rate after seeing this much amount of inflation? Will it reduce the policy rate or will it increase the policy rate? मतलब पक्का पता है आपको कि डिक्रीज ही करेगा, वो हमेशा की तरह सेम कांस्टेंट भी रख सकता है, विजिट इट, बट एटलीस्ट एक चीज क्लियर है, इंक्रीज नहीं करेगा. एंड व्हाई इज इट सो? बिकॉज द इन्फ्लेशन इज ऑलरेडी इन द टारगेटेड रेंज विच इज 2 to 6%. ठीक है, नहीं इंक्रीज क्यों करेगा? इन्फ्लेशन कंट्रोल में तो है, अब उसको क्या एकदम माइनस में ले जाओगे क्या? नेक्स्ट इज प्लेज फाइनेंस फैसिलिटी फॉर फार्मर्स नोन एज ई-उपज किसान निधि. ठीक है, सो दिस न्यू प्लेटफॉर्म E-Upaj Kissan Nidhi has been launched by the government of India, which actually provides facility for farmers to not only store their produce in some warehouse, launched by Warehouse Development and Regulatory Authority, but also pledge their produce to take, loans against that. तो pledged financing facility क्या है in context of farming, where अब आपके पास शेयर्स तो है नहीं प्लेज करने के लिए, लोन लेने के लिए. ठीक है, तो आपने अपना जो प्रोड्यूस है उसको कर दिया प्लेज. ठीक है, और आपको 6 महीने का लोन मिल गया जब तक आप उसको बेच नहीं रहे. तो देयर आर वेरियस बेनिफिट्स दैट इट कैन प्रोवाइड टू द फार्मर्स. इट कैन अवॉइड डिस्ट्रेस सेलिंग ऑन देयर पार्ट, कि उनको बस बेचना ही नहीं है. किसान को पैसा क्यों चाहिए? अपनी नेक्स्ट साइकिल को स्टार्ट करने के लिए. All the raw material cost that it requires in order to start its next crop cycle. And in order to do that, अगर टाइम से उसका प्रोड्यूस बिक गया तो that's a win-win situation. But what happens if the market conditions are not right and he is not able to not even get the cost it had incurred, the person had incurred? In that case scenario, the farmer can store its produce in some warehouse developed by Warehousing Development Authority. And after that, that farmer can get the receipt of storage of its produce. That receipt can be given to the bank, and that receipt can act as a pledge against which the farmer can get the loan. Usually around 75 to 80% of the amount is being provided to the loan at a competitive interest rates. For example, 7% for a 6-month storage period. So that's a win-win situation for the farmers, especially who were usually suffering from post-harvest losses. And it's also beneficial for the Indian agriculture as well. कि distress sale नहीं किया तो कभी-कभी बहा देते हैं. You must have seen various images where farmers are just putting down their produce on the roads just because distress sale भी बड़ी दिक्कत दे रहा है ना? तो this E-Upaj portal, E-Upaj Kissan Nidhi portal is for that only. Is this clear to everyone? Any confusion in this? टमाटर फेंक देते हैं, मिल्क इवन फेंक देते हैं, है ना? इवन प्याज, अनियन भी सेम है. चलो, let's move on to the next news, which was what are the various allegations against Paytm Payment Bank Limited. So this is the main allegation, which is extensive illegal activity, started by multiple businesses associated with a syndicate connected to a foreign state. तो एक syndicate बहुत सारी illegal activities Paytm Payment Bank से कर रहा है, and this syndicate is connected to a foreign state. Obviously, not more details are connected, but at least you understand that's what the allegation is being put on Paytm Payment Banks. ठीक है? Paytm Payment Bank offered fraudulent services, including prohibited gambling activities. This matter surfaced over 2 years ago. Okay. The proceeds were routed through Paytm Payment Banks, and that's why Financial Intelligence Unit has imposed 25 crore rupees fine on Paytm Payment Banks. ठीक है? Next is the capital expenditure data of state governments across India. Okay, so it will tell us about how the state government from its own budget are actually doing capital expenditure within their states. This will tell you that which state will flourish at least in the upcoming 4 to 5 years. क्योंकि हम लोगों ने capital expenditure पढ़ा है. What does capital expenditure do to your economy? What's the most primary benefit it provides? Anyone? Generate assets, increase productive capabilities, growth. बहुत बढ़िया. Yes, correct. ठीक है, तो आपको समझ में आ जाएगा कि कौन सा स्टेट कितना ज्यादा कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर कर रहा है अपने स्टेट, अपने एरिया में. सो दीज आर द लीडिंग स्टेट्स. महाराष्ट्र, लैगिंग स्टेट्स आर if you talk in context of financial year 23-24, ठीक है, and this is the data on the basis of Comptroller and Auditor General of India. Maharashtra has spent 37.49% of its budgeted capital expenditure until January 21. Karnataka 42%. And Gujarat 64% until December 2024. ठीक है? And the worst performer state is Punjab, spent only 32.77% of the budget estimate. Whereas these states, better performing states, Telangana, MP, Haryana, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, they have spent more than 70% of their budgeted capex. And the top state is Telangana, particularly stand out, spending over 90% of its financial year 24 budget. ठीक है? तो make sure at least you remember the name of top states and the bottommost state in order to have them as examples in your any question related to capital expenditure if you're talking about over there. ठीक है? Extra points ही हैं. Usually हम लोग macro level पे बात करते हैं. If we can give various points associated with states also in the descriptive, that inevitably helps. And this is a Comptroller and Auditor General of India's report. So that becomes important also for objective paper as well. ठीक है? Now let's go to national and state news. So India's first indigenous fast breeder reactor, capable of 500 megawatt electricity generation, okay, at Kalapakkam, Tamil Nadu, has started commencement of core loading. ठीक है, तो ये कुछ नहीं है, अभी स्टार्ट होना चालू हो गया. ठीक है, एंड वंस इट अचीव्स क्रिटिकलिटी. क्रिटिकलिटी क्या होता है? जब जो कोर में और रिएक्टर में रिएक्शंस सस्टेनेबल लेवल पे होने लग जाती है. ठीक है, एंड देन इलेक्ट्रिसिटी जनरेशन यूजुअली हैपेंस. So this has been in the news because Prime Minister witnessed the start of this first indigenous fast breeder reactor. So just remember that India's first indigenous reactor is in Kalapakkam, Tamil Nadu. ठीक है, अगर आप चेन्नई और पौंडीचेरी इन दोनों के बीच में जो ईस्ट कोस्ट रोड है उस पर जाएंगे तो यहाँ सेंटर में कहीं पड़ेगा ये कालपक्कम. ठीक है, कोस्ट पर, विल फाइंड इट ओवर देयर. इट वाज जस्ट टू गिव यू अ पर्सपेक्टिव ऑफ वेयर द लोकेशन इज. ठीक है, सो भाविनी एस्टैब्लिशमेंट विच इज भारतीय नाभिकीय विद्युत निगम लिमिटेड हैज बीन गिवन रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी टू ऑपरेट दिस फास्ट ब्रीडर रिएक्टर. ठीक है, नेक्स्ट इज अ स्टेट न्यूज और स्टेट स्कीम. So Delhi has released this Mukhyamantri Mahila Samman Yojana, in which every woman above 18 years of age shall receive monthly assistance of 1,000 rupees. But obviously इसमें conditions हैं, it's not like it is being provided to everyone. The conditions are that they should be a Delhi voter, not availing benefits from other government schemes, and not being an income taxpayer. ठीक है, and 2,000 crores have been allocated for this particular scheme. Next scheme is from Himachal Pradesh. The name is Indira Gandhi Pyari Behna Sukh Samman Nidhi Yojana. Okay, here the women will receive 1,500 per month, and it will take 800 crores annually on the state exchequer. No, apart from obviously Swachhata Green Leaf Rating Initiative for Hospitality Sector. ठीक है, so this scheme you will anyways read in PIB. It's related to PIB only. So what is this Swachhata Green Leaf certification? So it's like providing standardization with respect to sanitation in context of all the places that are important in hospitality sector. For example, homestays, hotels. ठीक है, अगर हमारे पास for example if there is any particular scheme which provides you certification with respect to green leaf, ठीक है, तो at least as a consumer or as a tourist you will be able to identify that at least हाँ ये स्टार रेटिंग वाला या ये सर्टिफाइड वाला होटल है, इसमें सैनिटेशन के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में वी नो व्हाट स्टैंडर्ड्स आर बीइंग ऑपरेटेड ओवर देयर. ठीक है, जस्ट लाइक अ स्टार रेटिंग सिस्टम. ठीक है, बट दिस ऑब्वियसली इज स्टार्टेड बाय द गवर्नमेंट, वेयर द गवर्नमेंट विल प्रोवाइड various standards with respect to sanitation, hygiene and sanitation that will be available in all the hotels, homestays and all the facilities in hospitality sector. Okay, so this is an initiative of Department of Drinking Water Sanitation, Jal Shakti and Ministry of Tourism. Okay, so Bisan Resorts Madhai in the heart of Narmadapuram, Madhya Pradesh has taken the lead by obtaining the first 5 Swachhata Green Leaf Rating Certificate of Recognition. So this is very important. Please remember the name of this resort and the place in which, or the state as well, in which this reform or this resort is located. Similarly, standardization of healthcare, especially in Ayush, is also done by the government. So Union Ministry of Health released new norms for Ayush healthcare centers regarding infrastructure, human resources and medicine availability. तो किस तरीके का इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर हर एक आयुष सेंटर में मिनिमम होना चाहिए, कितने लोग वहाँ पर प्रेजेंट होने चाहिए, एंड हाउ मच मेडिसिन minimum it should be available on all Ayush center. All these things are being provided by the Union Ministry of Health. ठीक है, and the name of the norms are called Indian Public Health Standards for Ayush. Next is Jindal Stainless Limited inaugurated India's first commercial scale green hydrogen plant, okay, at its manufacturing unit in Hisar, Haryana. Next, PM dedicated to nation multiple development projects worth 56,000 crores in Telangana. ठीक है, आपको हर न्यूज सेशन में पीएम के बहुत सारे प्रोजेक्ट्स मिल रहे हैं, देखने ही पड़ेंगे. एज आई हैव टोल्ड यू, एटलीस्ट जो प्रोमिनेंट है उनको तो आप देख ही लेता. ओके, so more than 30 developmental projects were laid foundation. Notable projects being inauguration of 800 megawatt capacity NTPC unit for electricity generation and even electrification of Ambari Adilabad Pimpalkuti rail lines. Okay, and foundation stones were laid for two major national highway projects in Adilabad, Bela and Mulugu. Next is government to focus on nano DAP fertilizers to cut import. ठीक है? So this is obviously government strategy to make itself independent or secure in context of fertilizers. Okay, so during April, DAP imports rose significantly. So after this, government realized that we need to reduce DAP imports by increasing domestic production. Okay, so uske liye abhi strategies they are thinking, and most probably some initiative will be launched in context of which we'll be able to reduce nano DAP production. Next is no separate power purchase agreement requires for power transactions on Pushpa portal. So this portal, Pushpa portal, okay, so in this push portal, the hydroelectric power generators, whenever they have excess electricity, they usually put it over sale on this portal, and usually the states which have, you know, limited supply of electricity, that excess electricity is usually provided to those states. But usually right now what is happening is Punjab government and NTPC right now is in tussle with respect to getting electricity from this Pushpa portal. NTPC is saying to Punjab government, आप एक काम करिए, आप पहले हमसे पावर परचेज अग्रीमेंट साइन करवाइए, उसके बाद ही आपको मिलेगा, ऐसे नहीं देंगे. ठीक है, बट द नेशनल पावर कमिटी सेड कि पावर परचेज अग्रीमेंट करवाने की जरूरत नहीं है. ठीक है, आप बिना पावर परचेज अग्रीमेंट के इलेक्ट्रिसिटी सप्लाई कर सकते हो स्टेट्स में. सो दिस इज व्हाट द न्यूज इज ऑल अबाउट. बट एटलीस्ट प्लीज रिमेंबर दिस पुष्प पोर्टल, इट्स लाइक अ मार्केट प्लेस फॉर इलेक्ट्रिसिटी सप्लाई. और पावर परचेज अग्रीमेंट आपको पता ही है कि द पावर, you know, source companies usually provide electricity supply to various states, obviously at some costing. तो पावर परचेज अग्रीमेंट पे अगर हम लोग करेंगे तो उसमें कॉस्ट हम लोग को मिले ना मिले, जबकि पुष्प पोर्टल पे सस्ता मिल रहा है इलेक्ट्रिसिटी. सो दैट्स व्हाट द इशू इज. नेक्स्ट इज रूलिंग एट लग्जमबर्ग कोर्ट. Spotify case, Apple has been charged with $2 billion by European Commission और यूरोपियन यूनियन. अब देखो सिंपल सी बात है, ऊंट आया पहाड़ के नीचे. दिस इज द सेम इशू दैट द इंडियन कंपनीज आर फेसिंग राइट नाउ. ऐप स्टोर वाला इशू है. ठीक है, मैं आपको इशू बताता हूं, यू विल रियलाइज दैट व्हाट्स, ये तो गूगल के भी बड़े वाले हैं. इसमें एप्पल ने क्या किया, स्पॉटिफाई, एज ऑल ऑफ यू नो, इन ऑर्डर टू गेट प्रीमियम सर्विस इन स्पॉटिफाई, यू हैव टू पे फॉर प्रीमियम सर्विसेज. वो आपका जितना भी पेमेंट रहता है आपको इन ऐप परचेज करना पड़ता है. ठीक है, एंड ऑल द एप्पल यूजर्स दे गेट द स्पॉटिफाई एप्लीकेशन ऑन एप्पल स्टोर, isn't it? And when they download it from the Apple store, whatever purchases that happen within the application, डाउनलोडेड फ्रॉम एप्पल स्टोर, वही कमीशन वाला खेल रहता है. 30% अमाउंट यूजली गोज टू द एप्पल. बट द स्पॉटिफाई ऑल्सो सेज कि टू रिड्यूस दैट मच अमाउंट ऑफ कमीशन, अब हमको कमीशन एप्पल को नहीं देना, सो अब इन ऐप परचेज तो करवा नहीं सकते, तो फिर वो थर्ड पार्टी परचेज करवाते हैं, उनको किसी और ब्राउजर में ले जाके वहां पर परचेज करवाते हैं. सो इन दैट केस सिनेरियो एप्पल ने क्या किया, सो स्पॉटिफाई ये इंफॉर्मेशन अपने सब्सक्राइबर्स को देना चाहता था, उसको रोक दिया वहां पे कि ये इंफॉर्मेशन ही नहीं जाएगी, सब्सक्राइबर्स को पता ही नहीं चलेगा कि आपने एक मैकेनिज्म डेवलप करके रखा हुआ है जिससे आप हमारी कमीशन खा सकते हो. ठीक है, और उसके बाद ज्यादा उसमें स्पॉटिफाई ने कुछ बोला तो उसका एप्लीकेशन भी डाउन कर दिया, हटा दिया वहां से. द सेम थिंग इज हैपनिंग. Okay, so it is in this context. This Apple has been fined by European Union court. Yes, Karthik, I'll explain it in English. So the issue that you were facing, that the Indian companies were facing about the commission, on the application, let's just understand it via flowcharts also. This is India's case. What's happening in India? You have this Google App Store. On which applications like Bharat Matrimony, Shadi.com are there. And if you download this Bharat Matrimony application, there are always premium services. Premium services पे ज़्यादा आपको hits मिलते हैं. So in order to get this premium services, you have to do the payment within the application, and whenever you do this payment, 30% close to that is usually taken by Google, just because your app is listed over the same platform. Same case is with Apple. You have Apple application store on which Spotify was there. Okay, so in order to get Spotify premium services, you have to do payment. So 30% of this is also taken by Apple. And this is for in-app purchases, that you do payment while doing payment in application only. Okay. So in order to circumvent all of this, okay, these companies are also smart. Why do they want to give 30% to the Google and Apple? So what they do, they just make the payment outside of the application. ठीक है, कि आप इसके अंदर पेमेंट नहीं करोगे. Whenever you push the button of pay, this will take you outside the application into some browser where this fees will be circumvented. ठीक है, then those transactions will not attract this much amount of commission. So what happened in Spotify's case is, what Apple did, Apple actually removed all the information Spotify tried to give to its subscribers regarding a different mechanism called browser thing. ठीक है, एक तो उन्होंने information हटा ली. First of all, they removed the information, and they still continue to charge this much amount of commissions. And what is happening in India? Because these applications tried to circumvent or just shifted their payment towards third party, what did Google do? Google actually delisted these applications from the application store. That's what happened. ठीक है, although these applications did not receive any relief from Supreme Court, and the Competition Commission of India is still investigating this matter, and even the government of India is saying that we will talk with Google representatives, but still no relief to these entities. But at least first kind of relief we've got in this world, and this may become the precedent. So what the European Union Luxembourg court says to Apple, it says that Apple's restriction on informing users of payment options is actually, limiting the choices of consumers. Okay, and these are unfair trading conditions. So that's why they have put how much amount of penalty? $2 billion. This is first ever EU antitrust fine, and this will indeed become precedent for all other similar type of issues. Let's see what India's issue will be in the future, but at least आपको एक example मिल गया, at least in the legal world, कि ऐसे issues को कैसे deal करना है. So I hope all of you understand what's the issue is and what have we seen in context of Apple. Any confusion? So let's move on to next news, which is Greenco acquisition of Chuzachen hydroelectric project. Okay, so Greenco Group along with Abu Dhabi Investment Authority and Japan's Orex Corporation completes acquisition of 110 megawatt Chuzachen hydroelectric project in Sikkim from Gati Hydro. ठीक है, तो आप एटलीस्ट नाम याद रख लो. Greenco, Abu Dhabi and Japan, all three entities are running this Sikkim plant. Next is National Fertilizers Limited launches fermented organic manure under Govardhan scheme. So this is aimed at distributing organic fertilizer to farmers to revive soil fertility and promote alternative fertilizers. Next is international news. So the first thing is French Parliament votes to make abortion constitutional right. So France becomes the first country globally to constitutionally protect the right to terminate a pregnancy. तो ये बहुत बड़ा debate चलता है. So the debate is that usually, although the debate is right to abortion or right to life, है ना, and the debate emanates from कि human life starts from where? When they take birth or when the fetus gets born. तो उसी के context में, but the France becomes the first country to globally recognize right to terminate a pregnancy. So that's why you need to be aware of this much. So China-Maldives Defense Cooperation Agreement. So I hope this was not shocking, I guess. ठीक है, ये तो होना ही था. How many of you are shocked with this news? चलो, opinion apart. China-Maldives Defense Cooperation. Let's see some of the nature of the agreement. Agreement says that China will provide military assistance gratis. Do you know what gratis means? Free of cost, without any charge to Republic of Maldives. ठीक है? Enhancing defense cooperation between the two nations. So the main thing is, whenever nations do anything free of cost, and not only nations, whenever companies also do anything free of cost, always remember the entity receiving the services, they are the product. सिंपल सी बात है. ठीक है, आपको कोई चीज़ फ्री में मिल रही है, आप प्रोडक्ट हो, आपको यूटिलाइजेशन होगा. ठीक है, आप इटसेल्फ इज अ प्रोडक्ट. Next is star dunes. So study revealed with respect to East Morocco Lalia star dune. Okay, that this dune is approximately 900 years it took to form. और ये स्टार ड्यून्स वही है कि रेगिस्तान में आपके पास ड्यून्स होते हैं ना इस तरीके से. Next is India-European Free Trade Association trade deal. So this is a very important deal in context of reducing our dependency from China, especially in context of essential imports that we do in various critical sectors. So recently European Free Trade Association is planning to invest $100 billion in India over 15 years. Okay, so these investments will mostly be in pharma sector, food processing sector, engineering sector and chemical sectors. The agreement aims to diversify India's imports away from China, particularly in critical sectors like chemical and pharmaceuticals. Space sector. Next news is Russia-China collaboration on Lunar nuclear power plant. Okay, so both countries are trying to collab on sending a nuclear power plant on the moon surface, so that whenever a new colony will be formed on moon, this new power plant will be able to provide electricity to the newly formed colony. ठीक है? So it is aimed at providing power to the future lunar settlements. Defense news. So Swedish defense company SAAB begins its work in India. So SAAB, first fully foreign owned defense production facility in India, has been set up in Med City in Haryana. Okay, so they will be producing Carl Gustaf M4 weapons. Okay? One of the most prominent weapon is recoilless rifle. And it's another sign of India's growing defense industry. Next is Rajnath Singh, Honorable Defence Minister, announces Aditi scheme to fund defence startups up to 25 CR. The full form being acing development of innovative technologies with India Defence, IDEX, aimed at funding research and development by startups. So they'll provide funding of up to 25 crores for innovation needed by the armed forces. Next is World Bank's Women Business and Law Index, upon which India ranks 113th out of 100 countries. I'm sorry, some issue is there. I'll update it. Okay. So this index actually indicates gap between legal rights enjoyed by men and women. Okay, so India's score for women legal rights is lower than the global average, standing at 42%. The ranking, I'll rectify it, so you'll get the rectified in the PDF only. Next is Methane Sat. This is a satellite that helps in tracking methane emissions. Okay? So this is launched by SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket from California. And why methane tracking is important? Anyone? What is methane? And why are we trying to track its quantity in the atmosphere? Yes, correct. It's a greenhouse gas. Okay. Until unless we get the data with respect to how much methane is present, we will not be able to rectify the presence of methane in the atmosphere. So it's also a most potent greenhouse gas, responsible for 30% of climate warnings since Industrial Revolution. Okay. So this methane satellite is developed by Environmental Defense Fund, monitors oil and gas sectors globally. Next is new government facility for space startup. So India's space regulatory body inaugurates first technical center to support various startups and private companies in space missions. Okay? So it is located in Ahmedabad, operated by InSpace, India National Space Promotion and Authorization Center. Okay, obviously to incentivize various companies to develop technologies to enhance commercial startups. So do you guys know any of the space startups in India? How many of you are aware of various space startups? Yes, correct. Skyroot, Bellatrix, एक और है, चलो बट एटलीस्ट 2-3 नाम याद करके रखिए, उससे हेल्प यू. थैंक यू ऋषि. सो दिस इज द रैंक ऑफ इंडिया इज 113th amongst 190 कंट्रीज. ठीक है. With respect to appointments, so Lubrizol, a leading specialty chemical company, has appointed Bhavna Bindra as the managing director for India, Middle East and Africa region. With respect to important days, so 4th March International HPV Awareness Day, second is Civil Accounts Day. Okay, celebrated on March 1st, marking the 48th foundation of Indian Civil Accounts Services. Okay, so this is all for today. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, we'll wind up this session. Keep revising these current affairs. We'll soon take February month, whole month MCQ plus revision session in the recent time. ठीक है, हम लोग जल्दी लेंगे उसका session so that we also help you revise the current affairs of month of February. ठीक है. Any question if you want to ask, please ask. How to cover 360-degree view of one topic. Just give me a topic, Karthik, in which topic you're trying to go for 360-degree view. Anyone else? Anything else? Rishi, I guess those type of videos are already made. You can just go to the channel, just type that same thing. Okay, there are various videos available with respect to that most important topics of ESI and FM. Karthik, tell me the topic which you want to do a 360-degree. देखो 360 डिग्री तो खैर क्या आप लोग एटलीस्ट द बेसिक मिनिमम एक्सपेक्टेशन दैट वी वांट फ्रॉम और दैट एनी एग्जामिनेशन वांट फ्रॉम ऑल ऑफ यू गाइस इज कि आप एटलीस्ट अपना स्टैटिक कंप्लीट करके रखें ठीक है, और उस सेम टॉपिक से रिलेटेड इफ देयर इज एनी करंट अफेयर्स, and when I'm saying current affairs, I'm not talking just solely about my own sessions. Anything that is in news in PIB, government schemes and all those things, or even current affairs, कोई session आया या regulatory body initiatives have been launched in context of that static topic, इसका आप comprehensive content तैयार करके रखें, ठीक है. Apart from this, obviously you need PYQs just to give you a direction about what type of questions are usually asked in this topic in objective and descriptive. Descriptive में if you can prepare related to any particular topic 3 to 4 model answers beforehand, तो आपका वो टॉपिक 360 डिग्री कवर हो चुका है. इससे ज़्यादा आप लोग क्या करोगे एक टॉपिक में, बताइए. Obviously for objective you can practice as many mocks as you can, but I guess this is more than enough if you can do for every topic that is present in your syllabus. This will help you inevitably, and this will also compound your knowledge base also. And if you can utilize whatever you are learning in current affairs with your descriptive, ठीक है, interlinkages अगर आप cross topic कर सकते हो, so that's other benefit you can add into your answers. Okay, anything else, anyone? हाँ, यूजुअली देखो 3 मंथ पहले योर 75 to 80% क्वेश्चंस यूजुअली आर फ्रॉम 3 months करंट अफेयर्स. बट आपको फेज 2 में एज लेना है तो आप कम से कम 4-5 महीने का करिए, मैक्सिमम 6 months. 6 months में तो 95% के आसपास क्वेश्चंस कवर हो जाते हैं, एक्सेप्ट फ्लैगशिप सर्कुलर्स. जो सर्कुलर पुराने भी है वो भी आ जाते हैं, तो उनमें तो हम लोग को पुराना भी पढ़ना पड़ता है. बट एटलीस्ट मोस्ट ऑफ द करंट अफेयर्स एस्पेक्ट 3 months, मैक्सिमम 6 months. Okay. Anything else? Nothing? Chalo. Thank you guys for joining. We'll meet in the next session. Till then, keep revising. And most probably, we'll be taking the RBI circulars as well as the February month revision session soon enough. Okay? And for RBI circulars, what? What for RBI circulars? RBI circular की क्लास जल्दी होगी, ठीक है. Feb का content I'm preparing, so I'll be most probably uploading it today or most probably tomorrow. और जैसे वो अपलोड हो जाएगा उसके 1-2 दिन में we'll take a session over that. कितने months? देखो RBI circular 6 months plus flagship circulars. फ्लैगशिप सर्कुलर्स 2-3 साल पुराने भी हो सकते हैं. फॉर एग्जाम्पल दैट NBFC सर्कुलर, UCB सर्कुलर्स, ठीक है. इट डज नॉट मीन दोज थिंग्स आर नॉट इम्पॉर्टेंट, तो वो करने पड़ेंगे. फ्लैगशिप सर्कुलर की लिस्ट हैव बीन ऑलरेडी प्रोवाइडेड टू ऑल ऑफ यू ऑन द टेलीग्राम चैनल, सो यू कैन टेक अ लुक ओवर देयर. ठीक है, इज दिस क्लियर? Chalo, thank you guys for joining. We'll meet in the next session. Till then, keep revising.